support Joe Manchin 120%.
Absolutely support it.
For him not backing down to Biden.
Nothing in that bill was going to help West Virginia. And in fact, it would cost us jobs, for which we, of course, would be paying as taxpayers.
I think it was the right thing to do. Too much money going in the wrong direction.
I think he did a good choice of denying it.
You gotta admire the man for sticking to his guns and doing what's right.
I stand for Manchin for going against Biden.
Because West Virginia is suffering for Biden's choices.
I'm praising him. I may consider voting for him next time if he runs.
I do have mixed feelings, but I also think he has West Virginians in mind and what West Virginians want to do.
I think he's doing a good job.
Give him enormous credit.
They're putting our young people in a debt that they'll never see the end of.
I think the bill itself is a little bit too much myself, and I think it's what he's fighting to get it reduced down to with more manageable and more economic, actually.
All right, guys. So if there's one thing that you take away from my channel, please take away this. And I've been trying to tell you guys this for a long time. Democrats think that you are dumb. Okay, they think that their voter base is dumb. They especially think that black people are dumb. And I did a video about that yesterday. But they believe that they know what's best for you, and they really truly don't give a damn about what you think, right? And this whole situation with West Virginia has revealed to the world what they actually think about the people that they claim they're trying to help. They think they're dumb. And I said that yesterday, right? They really do think that West Virginians are dumb, okay? And Betty Medler actually tweeted this yesterday morning that kind of drives home what a lot of Democrats want to say out loud, or a lot of progressives like AOC, Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, Jamaal Bowman, what they all want to say out loud, but they really can't say, right? They low-key say it, but they really can't say it. But this is what she says. What Joe Manchin, who represents a population smaller than Brooklyn, has done to the rest of America, who wants to move forward, not backward, like his state, is horrible. He sold us out. He wants us all to be just like his state, West Virginia. Poor, illiterate, and strong out. That's, guys, that is what liberals and Democrats think about you, right? That's what they think, okay? So I just want people to understand that. And obviously she got a whole lot of backlash for this tweet, but this video is not really about her, okay? It's really about another progressive politician from New York named Jamaal Bowman, who went on CNN and went on this tirade in which he accused Joe Manchin of basically being racist and not caring about black people, Latinos, or poor people, or anybody else except himself. And of course, this is what the Democrats have to do when people don't agree with them. Once again, they accuse them of being racist. Take a look.
It's tremendously frustrating for me as a black man in America, because once again, it's an example of Joe Manchin as a white man showing that he doesn't care about black people. He doesn't care about Latinos. He doesn't care about immigrants. He doesn't care about women, and he doesn't care about the poor. He is a millionaire, and he has the privilege to kick the can down the road and not vote for this bill while the people in my district are suffering. We just buried a 17-year-old who was shot dead in the head a couple of weeks ago. This bill has $2.5 billion for violence prevention. It has universal child care, universal pre-K. It finally deals with the climate issue. The same way black and brown people and women were kept out of the New Deal, Joe Manchin's trying to keep people out of this bill today, and it's unacceptable, and we need to do everything in our power to make sure it passes.
So what do you say when he reacts and says it's not about people of color or trying to oppress or any of those things? He has articulated it's about inflation. You're not buying that.
That's not true. There's no research, there's no studies that support that. Studies show And Goldman Sachs pointed that out today, that if we pass Build Back Better, it will uplift the economy. It will uplift people who are living in poverty. It will create cash flow. And it is the best way for us to respond to the largest global pandemic we've had in 100 years. I mean, this is, he's out of touch. He's out of touch with the research. He's out of touch with present-day economists. And he's out of touch with the poor people in West Virginia and the people in my district who have been waiting their entire lives for this kind of support and investment from the federal government. And let me also say this. This is not just about Manchin. I mentioned it before. Big money in politics is destroying how we govern in Washington. Because if he were responsive to the people in West Virginia, where West Virginia has some of the highest poverty rates in the country, if he were responsive to them, he would behave and vote differently. But it's about his donors. He's had the biggest fundraising year of his career. It's about lobbyists who are spending more this year than they've ever spent in their entire existence, speaking of pharmaceutical lobbyists. So let's speak about what the reality is. Big money in politics has to go. We have to respond to the American people, because if we don't have a democracy. Look at what just happened January 6th.
Woo, this guy's an idiot. Right? This guy is an idiot. Okay, he's an idiot. Because first and foremost, let me say something. Keep in mind, this guy, he's a male member of the squad. I think he's the only male member of the far left progressive squad. So keep that in mind in regards to the policies that this man supports. I just want y'all to keep that in mind. But he pulled all the left-wing talking points out of the bag, right? He basically called Joe Manchin a racist. Said that as a black man, you know, this white man, he don't care about black folks, Latinos, Asians, immigrants, the poor, right? That's what he says, okay? And then he goes on to talk about January 6th, right? Democracy, all the talking points, right? All the talking points. And nothing that he's saying is correct at all. Nothing he says is correct. It's not based on any reality. It's not based on any facts, okay? First of all, let's talk about the Goldman Sachs thing. Right, this man, he cited Goldman Sachs, right? The reporter specifically asked him about Joe Manchin's concerns in regards to inflation. He says there's literally no research out there, no economist out there that supports Joe Manchin's assertion that Build Back Better could contribute to increased inflation. And then he goes to mention Goldman Sachs by name, except David Miracle, chief U.S. economist at Goldman Sachs, literally said some of the package's spending would likely increase aggregate demand in the economy and thereby inflation next year. Quote, it would be dishonest to say it has zero effect, he said. You know how easy it was for me to just search that, to Google search that, to see, okay, is this dude actually correct? So he's just wrong on that, right? He's just wrong. But back to the whole race thing, right? He accuses Joe Manchin of not caring about black people, Latinos, Asians, immigrants, poor people, whatever, right? And my response to that is like, you do know that West Virginia is 90+% white, right? You do understand that. So what you're saying, really for his state is kind of irrelevant, right? Because he's only supposed to care about his state when it comes to these issues, right? And these people, you know, they act like they forget about that. Jamaal Bowman keeps talking about the people in his district, right? His district, which is in New York, and saying that Joe Manchin doesn't care about black and brown people in his district. And my answer to that is like, well, he shouldn't, right? He shouldn't care about it. Why should he care about them? That's not what he was voted to Congress to do by the citizens of West Virginia. He wasn't sent to Congress by West Virginians to care about New York, right? Now, he's supposed to care about the country as a whole when it comes to voting on certain things like foreign policy, okay, military, things like that. Obviously, okay, yes, you need to take the whole country into account, right, for certain issues. I get it. But on certain other issues, for example, like the economy, okay, and how certain legislation is going to affect your state's economy, and the people in your state, Yes, he should take that into account. But more than anything, he should take into account what West Virginians actually want, right? Which overwhelmingly, they don't want it. They don't want it. 74% of them do not want it. And again, it amazes me how every time you hear these people talk, it's always, well, West Virginians need this, 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 and this, and this. But it's never about what West Virginians actually say they want. They don't want it. Period. And if Joe Manchin goes out there and votes for something that they don't want, he's not doing his job, right? He's betraying his own people. He's betraying the people that he's supposed to care about, which is West Virginians. He's not supposed to give a damn about your district in New York. He's not supposed to care. So, you know, yeah, he really shouldn't care about black and brown people in your district, right? And he really ain't got many black and brown people in his state. So, hey, he probably don't care all that much. But I'm not implying that the man is racist like Jamaal Bowman. I'm not saying that. I don't think the man is racist. I don't have any evidence for that. But I'm just saying, this whole black and brown thing, he doesn't care about black and brown people thing, is such a silly talking point to me for various reasons. Mainly because there's no black and brown people in his state. So again, by that same logic, if he's hurting West Virginians and his state is mostly white, then that means he's hurting white folks, which goes against the whole Joe Manchin's a white supremacist, he's a racist white man argument. If you assume that he's hurting white people, his state, by voting against Build Back Better. Bro, I just laugh at this stuff sometimes because again, it's hilarious, right? How silly it is. But you know what really gets me is Jamaal Bowman, again, trying to guilt trip people, talking about how this Build Back Better bill has, what, $2.7 billion or something like that for violence prevention. And then he cites, you know, some dude getting shot in the head in his district and tries to put that on Joe Manchin. Again, as if Joe Manchin should care about that. He actually really shouldn't. It's not his state. You should care about that. And if you care about that, then tell me, why the hell do you support defunding the police? You claim you care about black and brown people so much, but yet you support policies that hurt black and brown people, like defunding the police. What about that? So are you racist? Are you racist against black and brown people? Black man? Are you racist? The same argument you're making about Joe Manchin, I can make the same argument about you, considering that you support legislation that literally is going to hurt black and brown people, and it actually has throughout this whole country. I've done numerous videos and stories about how these cities across the country that have bought into the whole defund the police thing, they bought into progressive criminal justice reform, which Jamaal Bowman supports overwhelmingly. They've reduced their number of officers on the streets. Okay, they've cut their budgets, how they're facing massive crime surges, more violence. And the main people that are suffering from that are so-called black and brown folks. And they're doing it because you got mainstream progressives like this guy out here pushing these toxic policies on these cities. But again, he's trying to tell me he cares about black and brown people so much, when I would argue that his policy, the things that he supports, are much more detrimental to so-called black and brown people than Joe Manchin voting against this Build Back Better program. Because there's no guarantee that this Build Back Better bill is actually going to uplift all these people out of poverty like Jamaal Bowman is claiming. Because I would have to ask, is being dependent on the government for a check to take care of your kids, for daycare, for all this stuff that they want to make people dependent on, is all that actually uplifting people out of poverty? Is that actually helping people stand on their own? Is that changing the behaviors that lead to people being in poverty in the first place? I would argue it doesn't. I would argue it just makes people dependent. I don't think dependence is uplifting anybody out of poverty. Uplifting people out of poverty is allowing them to stand on their own 2 feet. That's what's uplifting people out of poverty. So, you know, again, I just find this hilarious when these people go out here and they want to accuse Joe Manchin of all types of things. He's corrupt. He's a sellout. He's a racist. He don't care about black and brown folks, even though he doesn't have any black and brown people in his state to care about, right? They want to accuse him of all this stuff, but none of them ever talk about, well, what do West Virginians actually want? What does Joe Manchin's approval numbers actually look like? What are the voters saying about Build Back Better? They never bring that up. And the reason why is because they know that West Virginians simply don't support it. They know that Joe Manchin is actually popular in West Virginia. They approve of what he's doing. And this is why you have people like Betty Midler that'll come out here and say that, well, West Virginians are dumb. And that's what all of them want to say, right? That's what Jamaal Bowman really wants to say. But he can't really say that, so he just, again, defaults to Joe Manchin's a racist, right? That's what he defaults to. But what he really actually wants to say is that West Virginians are dumb. Because they all know that Joe Manchin is doing this because West Virginians want him to do it. West Virginians wanted him to vote for the bipartisan infrastructure package, and he did it. He voted for it. So he's not against Joe Biden just to be against Joe Biden. He's simply for the things that his state wants him to be for, right? His state wants him to be a conservative Democrat. They voted in a conservative Democrat. That's what he's doing. That's what he's being. So, again, these people that claim to care about democracy so much, every time you look, they simply show you they don't actually really care about democracy. They just really care about what they want. And if you don't want what they want, then you're either ignorant, you're dumb, strung out on drugs, or you're racist, right? That's just kind of how it goes. But let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.